Hey, Tanny here from myslope.com, here to walk you through some of our new halter top patterns. So we have the open back halter top pattern, but today we're going to be talking about the closed back halter top pattern. After you make your purchase, it is accessible via the drafting library, so just click on through. And then, as always, we have incorporated the custom measurement profiles into the tool, and then we have also incorporated as standard our sizing envelopes. So right now what's accessible is the Missy Curvy and Missy Straight size envelopes, and we will be adding more size envelopes in the coming months. So, coming weeks, coming months. So for this tutorial, I'm just going to draft using the Missy Curvy size, let's say 6, just a demo, and then I'm going to pick my units of measurements. Now, where this tool really comes to life is really with all of the pattern adjustments, which are extremely powerful. So right now it's set as optional for the base pattern. So as if you were to purchase, let's say, a ready to wear pattern, and then you wanted to just like adjust some of your measurements here. But yeah, so the fun part is all of these additional options. So right now I'm just going to add in, I am drafting in inches, so I'm just going to add in my seam allowance, and then I'm going to show you just what the base pattern looks like, and then we'll play around with some of the features. So as always, you submit the measurements, and then after you submit the measurements, you're going to get two options here. So download full page or download tiled A4 printing. So opening up the full page, you can see what your pattern is going to look like. And then if you wanted to print with a printer, you would go download A4, and then as you see, the entire file is tiled. So, and then another note is you see how there is a border, so the pattern is moved into the center of the page. So when you do go to print, make sure you print at 100% scale. And then what you're going to have to do is essentially fold over these borders and then line up the design lines together. So never should you be drawing in any design lines. You're going to fold the papers and you're going to really line up the lines exactly. So that is just the pattern right out the box. And then, just another note on the printing. When I recommend that you open up both the full page and the tiled versions, and then you can see just like a puzzle where everything goes. I'm using Google Chrome. The program works best in Google Chrome, so that is my recommendation to really get it zippy and to be able to do what I'm about to show you. So you see that my form is all filled out. This could be done with demo measurements, but right now I'm using the ASTM size measurements. So instead of just restarting every time you want to make a change, and if you want to really play around and see what the different options do, you can do that straight in the form as it's loaded in Google Chrome. So let's say additional neck ease, I want to do 0 for additional neck ease. So this is going to be where the shoulder strap, the distance from the side neck point to where the shoulder strap is going to start. So if I put that at 0, the shoulder strap is really going to start at the side neck point. So this additional neck ease is really for if you wanted to pull the garment over your head without having to use an enclosure, or let's say you're using a stiffer knit that doesn't have as much stretch. So you would want to add that additional neck ease, but also you can push the additional neck ease, for example, to the end of your shoulder, and you can create different necklines. So a boat neck neckline, something a bit more, in the center of the shoulder. But yeah, so I'm going to set additional neck ease to 0 just so I can show you what it's going to look like. And then we see that it was pushed more. Let me just make sure. Let me close this and make sure. Yeah. So you can see the difference with the additional neck ease set to 0 versus the standard. And then let's say I really wanted, that full shoulder look. We could have additional neck ease at 0. And then we can set our strap width to, what is our shoulder measurement here? It is going to be 5. So let's say I wanted to extend that shoulder. So strap width is literally the width of the strap. And just a note here, when it comes to additional neck ease and also strap width, it will max out at the shoulder. So if you put, let's say, 20 inches for the shoulders for the strap width, it's going to stop at the shoulder. It's not going to draft a long 20 inches pattern. So we see that we have our neck ease at 0, and then we have our 5-inch shoulder let's say we wanted to do one of like a boat neckline, and let's say I wanted to start that so if our shoulder, let's say I wanted to start that really at the end 4 and make our strap 1 to really give a elegant line, or just to see what's going to happen. We can see that we were able to manipulate the neckline to really pull out to the side. Next option with our additional pattern options here is distance below the bust radius. So essentially this section here, so this is your bust radius, it'll be the distance below the bottom of this circle essentially. So if you wanted to do, let's say, a tank that will go all the way to the waist, you could do that. So a note here too, if you put, let's say, 100 inches, it will max out at the waist. So your waist to bust is essentially the max you can do, but you could really play around with this and turn this top into a tank, or you can combine it with, let's say, the free circle skirt tool and make a dress that cuts off at the waist. So let me just demonstrate that super quickly. So distance, I'm going to show you how you can put in, let's say, 40 inches, and then it's going to cut off at the waist. So as we see, we've made a beautiful boat neckline cutting off at the waist. It is a tank. And then what other options we have here? We have armhole side seam length percentage. So when you're taking your arm side measurement, the video does say to use some fingers to kind of give yourself some ease, but I would suggest using the least amount of fingers, because with the armhole side seam percentage, you can adjust essentially if you want a little bit more, if you want the armhole to be a little bit more open. So 100%, it'll be closed. With 0%, the armhole is going to start at the bust line. So essentially where the apex of the bust moves across the chest, the height of that. So you can adjust things that way instead of playing around with the arm side. This has been a common error that happens where designers will put in an arm side that is a little bit longer, and then it overlaps with the waist of us, and then we get funky things happening. So let's say I want to set that to 0. The default is 50, and then we'll see that we'll have a little bit extra space in that arm side. So we see that the arm size stops now at the bust radius. We have this beautiful boat neckline. Let's say we wanted to make something very dancey, a very classic dance top where it's halter. So what we would do is we would set maybe, and then let's say we're using an enclosure, we would set the neckline to 0, and we'll keep this at 40. Strap width, we'll keep that at 1 just so we can have something to grab onto. So now we see that we've moved the opening of our side neck point a lot closer to the neck. And then what we have in here is a legend for you to use to add in additional pattern options. So I didn't add this into the tool because they're just rectangles, so it's not necessary to add into the tool. Also, more cutting and pasting, no one likes that if you're not using a projector, which I suggest because it will change your life. Anyways, so total waistband length with the main seam allowance. So if you wanted to add in a waistband, we give you those measurements right away so you know how much to cut your waistband. So I'm going to cut at 23.87 inches, and that is going to fit around with the main seam allowance here. And then if I wanted to add that beautiful dancy mock neck, I would do total neck length with seam allowance. So I would cut a piece at 12.98 inches, and that includes my seam allowance, and I would probably want to fold that over so I don't have that to finish that top seam. So let's say I wanted to do a 5 inches a lot. Yeah, so let's say I wanted to do 2.5 inches wide of a mock neck. I would cut my piece at 12.98 inches in length, so that includes my side seam allowance. And then if I'm going to do 5 inches, because I'm going to fold in half, and then I just add on my seam allowance, so I'd be doing 5.5 in height, and then we're doing 12.98 in width, and that's gonna zip around, and that is going to be able, you're going to be able to sew that right in there to make the danciest of dance tops to dance in. Yeah, so finally let's move into seam allowance here. So we have our main seam allowance and our arm and neck hole seam allowance. So if you wanted to use a binding, let's say, around the armholes and the neck holes, you can adjust that to be 0. And the main seam allowance will be for your side seams and your waist seam. So let me show you what that looks like. Bam. So we see that if we wanted to do a binding around the neck and then the neck holes, and then all our main seam allowance is different. So you really have a lot of options here. Final note. I forget what my final note was going to be. Right. I just want to reiterate this point. You see that I'm doing this live. I'm not cutting, not editing. In Google Chrome, I am able to play with all of these features and see what I can do, see how wonky I can make things, and directly in the tool. So you don't have to fiddle around and then like put everything, all your measurements in, start again. So you can really play with it and see what you can come up with. And then also if you wanted to make little minor adjustments in your measurements, let's say. But it also is easy because you can adjust your size envelopes. If you want to do a size 8, for example, the form will adjust. It will maintain your pattern options here as well. So let me just confirm that that is true. So to prove to you, 28 waist, and then I'm going to move this to a size 10, 29 waist. Okay, yes. Just making sure that I am correct and not misleading you. Anyways, look, I'm looking forward to seeing what you sew. Yeah, these tools are very exciting. I will be rolling these out into Leo form, which will make the ultimate dance package. Leo form, also adding in some sleeves, so keep an eye out for those updates because, yeah, these are classic dance pieces. So, yeah. Try the tool, play around with it, show me what you sew. It could just be a photo in DM. It could be a public review. I really want to see what you create. It could be just a flat lay on your cutting table. And bonus points, if it's on stage, I will be very happy. All right. Thank you, designers.